Hey friends, you're watching BrainStormAcres. I'm Henry. Irene is finishing up in the greenhouse. Well, actually she is finished in the greenhouse, but this entire sequence was disrupted by a bunch of things that took a higher priority and took more time. In particular, I had to repair a bunch of our range. All of a sudden, the oven stopped working correctly, and it took me time to figure out what parts I needed. I've ordered the parts. That'll be another show. Let's get on with Irene working in the greenhouse.
And that has been all basil all summer. So that's cool. This has been, let's see, early on, this would have been cabbage, and then it became beans. And we're getting these rolled up as we go along too, because there's no reason to have that sort of draping down on your head. Now, the next one here, I could see is Amanda orange. And, come on kid, I just made a mess. Didn't roll that straight, there we go. One of the things I have to do next year is replace all these loops that go up on the pipes, because I noticed I had a couple of the loops just break from old age this year, which was a pain because I would come out and there would be a tomato plant laying down over the top of everything, which is very messy. It's not good for the plant, and certainly not good for the sanitation of the greenhouse. So let's see, I'm going to pull these clips. Now, if I was concerned about disease in the greenhouse, all right, I will clean these before I use them again next year. And the way I'll clean them is I'll simply soak them briefly for just a couple of minutes in a solution of Clorox water. I know that some homesteaders have a real aversion to Clorox. I do not. I think it has its place. It is, you're not drinking it, you're not, you're just simply using it to clean something, and the Clorox, the chlorine atoms that everyone is so worried about will go away really, really quickly. I have no illusions that any of these little tiny small sprouts on the tomato plants are going to be able to produce fruit. Not on these anyway. This plant is done. So I'm just going to simply remove the doneness. And that, because it's an orange tomato, is ready to go. So we will be eating that in the next day or two. This Amanda orange, I had planted some red noodles in it, hoping to get a second generation of red noodle plants out. Unfortunately, they were eaten by the rodents that got in here. So we'll never know if that'll work. I'll try again next year. So we'll see. But meanwhile, we'll get Amanda orange out of here. There we go. Much better. Whew. There we go. All right. I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. This was cucumber. And that was a combination of mistreatment, bugs, end of season, a little bit of rodent damage, but they're done. So we'll get them out of here too. And you can see that's a much less significant root system than the tomatoes have. These did okay this year though. Pretty happy with them. Need to get a thing there. I have a stool which stays in the shade underneath. And otherwise it would quickly rot from the sun. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is actually see if I can pull this down. Yeah. These need to be cleaned in Clorox 2 before they're used next year. So that'll take care of any fungus or anything else that is on here. In commercial greenhouses, a lot of times they simply cut off the string that's been used and replace it. But I'm trying to be conservative in terms of spending things, so I find it, if it gets ratty, if the string gets kind of funky and frayed, then I will get rid of it if it's just the part that's frayed. And if it's not frayed, then I will just clean it before I use it again. And see, getting this done here will mean that this whole first table is under control. Now there's a bunch of fruit on the next table, so that's going to take some different sorts of things. But again, as this stuff starts to at least turn a little bit orange, I will take care of that and simply harvest it. I can easily get slightly orange fruit to ripen in my kitchen. I've got a bunch of thyme leaves and branches in the top of this. It won't hurt anything. I may try and trim the thyme just a little bit. We'll see. I'll think about that. See, that just broke. That's what I'm talking about. Some of the older loops have just degraded from the sun. UV destroys anything kind of plasticky around here, and these are probably polycords, I guess. I don't remember. You can see that one just broke when I was trying to get it off, which is fine. It means I'll just get rid of it. I can see that this one here has something odd going on, so I'll take a close look at that. I may just trim off some of the string. I don't want to use string that's going to break when I'm using it, because as I said, it can do quite a bit of damage to the plants if you have a big crash landing. And even if it doesn't do a lot of damage, it's still a pain. Yeah, I'm going to just cut this off here because there's a patch or something in this piece there that doesn't look healthy. So I'm getting all the little tendrils from the beans and the cucumbers off of here because they can be a reservoir for funguses and things to hang around in. Hi Rufus, you checking it out? You can hear Dad stomping around out there. There we go. Okay. Every once in a while there'll be a head that'll come out from underneath here. It's pretty funny. Unfortunately, you can't see it because he's below the level of the table, but it is kind of funny. This I'm going to fuss with because it has a whole stack of fruit on it. It smells so good here because all this thyme is here, and every time I move something, I'm brushing against some either dead or dried or something leaves, and it just smells wonderful. It's just one of those times when you need smell-o-vision so you can share how wonderful something smells. Let's see. This branch does not have any tomatoes on it. Yes, it does. It's got one over there. This is the hard part about trying to sort this out sometimes, is you're trying to see everything all tangled together. All right, so we'll clip that there. Okay. This branch can go right up here. Let's see, that does not have any tomatoes on it. Trying to be really careful. The last thing I want to do is chop off a branch with tomatoes that aren't even starting to ripen. See, this one is starting to go a little yellow. So, messy, messy, messy. Okay, that doesn't have any fruit. Neither does that. I am going to just plain cut off this and this. This is cucumber stuff, and I'll need to take off the clips later. That's easier done when it's down. Okay, there was a slight screw up, but that one is starting to turn, so I should be able to get it to ripen in the house. If it was bright green, it probably wouldn't do well. So, sometimes they will, but they don't usually taste as good. All right, so that's okay. Let's chop this guy off. There's a tomato. See if we can get them just to start to ripen. Let's see what we have here. We have some very tangled up tomatoes. Part of this is because one of the things over here fell down. All right, let's see. Which plant is that on? It's on that plant. All right, so we won't chop off that. Okay, whew. I'm going to just finish this, and then I'm going to get my little bit of planting done today, and I'll leave the rest for a future thing. I have a lot of projects that I need to make progress on today, including a bunch of work on my business, so I only have so much time to do this. But what I'm going to do is something super important, which is get a few of the winter things planted. Now, ideally, they would already be seedlings right now, but to be honest, we had a very warm fall, which was problematic in terms of deciding what to do with when to plant and all that sort of stuff. Usually I would have planted September, October at the latest, but it was hot. We did have a quick freeze or two in there. I mean, we had a hard freeze, but it was like, and now we'll go back to being 80, and it's like, oh, geez Louise. So it makes it a bit of a challenge when you're trying to figure out what the right thing to do is. I was actually talking with a viewer the other day about exactly that topic, that we were like, okay, what do we do? When are we going to put this stuff in, and how are we going to handle things? Because part of it's just a little bit of luck and trying to get it to work. And, you know, recognizing that when we start plants, most of the time we have a fairly warm starting soil and things like that. So it's not the end of the world if it gets a little warm, but you don't want it to be 105 degrees. That's a bit too much. Okay, let's see. I'm going to steal another couple of these guys. There we go. There we go. Now, we've got the tomatoes up. We've got them on plants that have been pretty well cleaned off in terms of junk. I'm going to leave the rest of this stuff for a future expedition. Because I have other things that are more critical right now to get taken care of. So first we stuff the okay. I will have to come back and take the rest of these down and things like that. I just, like I said, I have a limited amount of time today. So, there we go. Now, let's get some soil and some seeds.